Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show and this special writers chat with one of our contributing writers to the the March, April issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm Ginny Robertson, the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and the founder of the On Purpose Woman global community. Today, I'm joined by Sarah. Sarah, we haven't talked for a
Oh,
couple of
good.
months, and I always want to make sure I have your last name right. It's Santa Croce, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. My apologies for that. But I am joined by Sarah Santacroce, one of our contributing writers, who is currently writing a powerful seven-part series on the evolution of the seven P's of marketing, reimagined through the lens of humane marketing. If you've read her first two pieces on passion and personal power, you already know this series is a game changer for heart-centered entrepreneurs. In this chat, we'll be diving into the third P, which is people, and exploring how to truly connect with your ideal clients in a way that's aligned, authentic, and relationship driven. You're going to walk away with some inspiration and practical tools to bring more heart to your marketing. So, Sarah, welcome back to the pages of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, it's always lovely to reconnect. Thanks, Ginny, for having me.
I got a little confused because I just this morning sent your May-June article to the designer. And so my head is all twisted about, are we still talking about March and April or
You're
May and
always 2 months
June?
ahead. Yeah.
Always 2 months ahead, yes. And so for those who might be meeting you for the first time, can you briefly introduce yourself and then share what inspired the seven P's of humane marketing?
Yeah. So I'm Sarah with a complicated last name, Santacroce, which means Holy Cross in Italian. So my husband is originally from Italy, grew up in Canada. That explains that last name. And I'm actually Swiss. I'm based in Switzerland. So that's always something that people remember about me. Um, where to start? Yeah, I started my first business in 2006 and created a LinkedIn consultancy business and was always in this online business and watching all the online marketers and gurus telling us what to do. And every year, as every year went by, I felt a little bit less aligned and less in integrity with all of that advice of just, scaling or using pain points or manipulation or psychology hacks, all of this stuff that we're being taught in marketing until 2018, where I sat on a therapist chair and really just had this breakdown, making me realize I can't keep going like that because it's just so against who I am, my values, and my integrity that I had two choices. Either I give up or I actually come up with something different. And so that was kind of like when humane marketing was birthed. At the beginning, it was called gentle marketing because I really felt like that's what we need as heart-centered entrepreneurs is more gentleness, more kindness and empathy. And then it evolved to being called humane marketing. I like the play of words because the word human is obviously in there. So yes, it's very human-centered, but it's also humane, meaning kind and empathic and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's the story of humane marketing.
I love what you do. And when you were talking, you reminded me of something I hadn't thought about in a number of years. Many years ago, I remember talking to a talking with a marketing professional and saying to them, why do we want to find their pain points? I said, that doesn't sound like that's not much fun. I said, could we be finding their joy points instead? And of course, he looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but
Yeah.
I always thought that finding their pain,
Mm.
bring people to that place. And I guess it worked in some ways for years, probably. And when people were more used to being kind of told what to do and then using the template and doing it. But I think a lot of people have left that behind. And so this is a much more, not
It's
just
interesting
humane.
you that caught your attention because obviously it's still something that marketers talk about a
Hmm.
lot today. And I don't think it's completely wrong. Yes, we do need to understand our clients' problems and our people, we're talking about people today. We need to
Hmm.
understand what our people are struggling with. There's this tiny thing in our brain is called the articular activating system. And that thing in our brain is there to help us solve our problems. And so if we are not addressing our clients' problems, then people don't pay attention to us. So if we're
Hmm.
only talking about the joy points, for example, then they're like completely not listening because their brain is telling them, no, but you have this problem that you need to
Yeah.
solve. Like for some of my clients is like, well, they need more clients. And so what they're constantly looking out for is how to get more clients, right? And so if I'm just talking about the joy of humane marketing and why that is so great, they're like, yeah, but what I really need is more clients, right?
And
And
it's
so that's
causing them
why,
pain. Yes.
yeah, it is their pain, but what we don't want, and I think what the traditional or the kind of the pushy marketing teaches us is to, put salt into the wound and make the pain even bigger
Hmm.
so that they really are like, oh my God, yes, I'm really struggling. And then they, give them the carrot and say, yes, I know you're really in pain. And here's my magical solution that is not magical because there is no magic for
Right.
that. There's other magic. I definitely believe in magic, but not for that. And so yeah, that's how they lure their people in, right? To kind of blow up the pain and then say, but I have this magical solution and here's what it is.
Yeah. And it's the magical solution that often people didn't feel good about, I
Yeah.
think is what you're where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's both. It's the exaggeration of pain
Hmm.
and then this blown up, not very trustworthy solution. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we're now on the third installment, which is people. But before we dive into that, can you give us a quick recap of the first two, which is passion and personal power, and how do they build the foundation for people?
Yeah. So what I did with the 7 Ps of humane marketing is really put things on its head. So that's the mandala that's in my articles. And usually all the marketing programs start with your target audience or your avatar, your customer avatar, and that's the P of people. But I start with passion and personal power. So the last two articles. Um, and that is so key because I say that humane marketing is marketing from within. So you're starting within, you're starting with yourself. You're figuring out what your why is, your passion, your purpose, so that you can bring this enthusiasm and passion into your marketing. And that's actually also the thing that you're always going to go back to if you feel like, oh, I don't want to market anymore, or I don't know what to say. Well, why are you in business in the first place? Go back to your passion, go back to your why. And then the P for personal power is this whole figuring out who you are, how you're wired, your human design, your Enneagram, all of these personality type assessments that can feel like, well, they're just gimmicks, but a lot of them are not.
Mhm.
And they give us such rich information about who we are. And then from there, we can figure out, well, what is going to work for me in marketing? Like, for example, I'm a big podcaster. I've been podcasting since many years. That really works for me because I love the one-on-one interaction with the guest that I invite. I'm an introvert, and so I like the one-on-one. I don't like necessarily like going on stage and speaking. That doesn't work for me. Um, what else? I like to go deep with my guests, right? And so this knowledge then helps me filter out all of the things that they're telling me that I should be doing. I should be creating all these Insta wheels and I should be on Twitter. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's not where I want to be. And so having that clarity and that we talked about clarity before going live, like having that clarity helps you with the boundaries. We talked about boundaries as well, right? It's so important because every day somebody's gonna email us about something that we should do or should have. And so if you have that clarity, but this is who I am, This is the track I'm on. And then now with that knowledge, you go into the P of people and you're like, hey, people, I have done my work on figuring out who I am, why I'm passionate about this work. And now I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to bring more of myself into my marketing. I'm going to share with empathy. I'm going to share with transparency. And then there's this beautiful thing that happens that's called resonance, because our people all of a sudden they filter out all the other people that they're like, well, those are not my people. Ginny, she's my people. And I want to, do the next thing that she's offering with her. So that's why it's so important to start at the P for passion and then personal power.
Wow, this is just such brilliant. Every time I speak with you or read your articles, I'm just kind of like reinvigorated about,
Thank you.
some of the things I've been doing right all of these years, and some of the
Yeah,
things I could
definitely. You
really
wouldn't be
shift.
here
Yeah,
otherwise.
I could really shift and change still at this stage. I was going to
Mm.
start out by asking you about how humane marketing reframes this whole idea of, you mentioned a faceless target audience, but I think you just did a brilliant way of segueing into this.
Mm.
So you write in your article that people are your tribe, your community. And I love that shift in language. And can you talk about how that changes the energy and approach behind marketing messages? I think you've touched on it a bit already, but say a little
Yeah.
that because I think some people are kind
Yeah.
of informal. You probably, and I'm going off on another tangent for just a minute, but I'm wondering also if you hear that much from potential new clients or, well, but that sounds so like friendly and informal and maybe not as business-like as they've been taught they're supposed to be. Professional, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Do you hear
Mm.
that as well? Because when you start
Mm.
talking about your tribe, and you start talking about energy and things that some people just don't bring into their business.
Yeah.
Answer all those questions for me, please.
That's a great tangent. Yeah, I love that. It's actually not a tangent because if you think about the ways to create this resonance with your people, there's different ways. There's language that you mentioned, right? Like what kind of language are they using? And are you using the same one? Like if I all of a sudden start to talk like a business person and use all this jargon, my people are going to go, huh? What? I don't understand what's going on with Sarah. And so language is a big one, understanding our people's language, how they talk. Like I usually don't use swear words ever on a podcast episode. Of course, I swear at home every now and then, right? But it's not that I'm trying to be businesslike. It's just not the language that I use even with friends. That's not how I speak. And I know that my ideal clients don't do that either. Not that there's anything wrong with, swearing. But it's just I notice it's a certain, tribe of people who like to communicate like that. My
Mhm.
people don't. And so understanding this language part is a huge part of understanding your people. And then you mentioned the non-business like things, like we're seeing more and more spirituality coming into the business world, and things that we previously thought were unprofessional. Well, I call this blurring the lines. And I think it's a big part also of what I talk about um, on how you are going to find your people. The more you can blur the lines and make your worldview your niche, uh, that's another thing that people really get caught up in is this niche. How am I going to find my niche or niche? And how do I, well, just bring more of you to your marketing, bring your worldview to your marketing. And so that includes things like spirituality or even faith or other things like right now, what's going on in the world. I You don't have to be political. That this is not about being political, but taking a stand for certain things. That's going to either attract or push away your people. Sorry, not your people, push away the other people that are not
Yeah, I know what you
people,
meant. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, those are things that are important because they create this resonance with your ideal people.
Hmm. You make a really great point about the political piece of that. And for me, the delineation is that, many of these things aren't, should not even be considered politics. The
No,
things that we
they're
take
not.
stands on, like everyone having food and shelter,
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
that should ever be
They're
considered
not
politics.
about right or left,
Yeah.
Democrats, Republicans. That's to me in the future that won't even exist anymore. So it's not about those things. It's more about right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
And as human beings, we all know for at least for us what is right and wrong. And we kind of also know, for the world in general, like karma wise, is this right or
Mhm.
wrong? And so those are the things that we can, bring up and yeah, just stand for certain things that are obviously right.
Yeah. Show our humanity as we practice
Yeah,
humane marketing,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You also write about empathy and that it's such a key piece of connecting with people. How can entrepreneurs build empathy into their marketing without it feeling like forced or performative? And you have to know how to feel it yourself. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
all part of finding yourself, isn't it? And getting clear on who you are and what resonates and matters to you.
Yeah. Yeah, again, there it's just about being real and once you have found your authentic self, it's not a big stretch to just be real and address things with transparency and not sound fake. I think an important part of empathy is also show people that yes, you understand, but also show them that it's not their fault.
Mm.
Oftentimes in the pushy and manipulative marketing, it actually they make us feel like it's our fault.
Yeah.
Meaning, they're saying, okay, you're doing this wrong, and this is why your business has not succeeded yet. You're just a couch potato, all of these things. And so that's not empathic at all. Empathy is understanding and then saying it's not your fault. You're doing your very best, and maybe you have learned wrong or you've listened to the wrong people or something like that. But making them understand that it's not their fault, I think, is a huge piece of empathic marketing.
And isn't the basis of that just listening?
Yeah.
Just real listening, not cursory listening, not just this superficial kind of thing that says, okay, I'm waiting for you to stop talking so I can tell you what you need now, right?
Yes.
But we're also
Yeah.
listening at a very deep level. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. People are often surprised when I invite them for a conversation, which I clearly say this is a conversation to find out if we're a good fit, right? I state
Mhm.
that very clearly. I think that's much better than telling people, oh, this is just a free call and then not making it clear what it is. So
Yeah.
this way they know, but I also say this, I'm not going to pitch anything, and so they're always surprised when I come and say, there's no agenda. Tell me, how can I help? What's your business? Like, and then I really listen. And people are
Mhm.
so used to other people having an agenda and saying, okay, we have 15 minutes and tell me in 2 minutes and then I'm gonna give you my pitch in 12 minutes. So just leaning back and creating spaciousness and saying, I'm here to listen. And then
Mhm.
let me see if I can help.
And everybody gets to take a nice deep breath. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, I think one of my favorite lines in your article is about flipping the narrative from seeing people as leads to partners on a journey. Can you expand on that idea and how does that change the way we market day to day?
Mm. Yeah, it's again the power of words. There's so many marketing words that are just not humane. They don't share our shared, they don't show our shared humanity. They kind of, yeah, they put people into these buckets of leads, which
Mm.
which to us, what is a lead, right? To us, it's just a money sign. It's like, ooh, can I make money out of this lead, right? And and so when you change the word, into a word that is beautiful, and partnership is a beautiful word, then you make it about doing something together. And
Mhm.
it's just like it's a conversation, and it's like, I do have something beautiful to offer. Is it right for you? Well, let's find out. So it really changes the energy from me wanting to force something out of this lead, push
Right.
this lead through my sales funnel. And you don't do that with partners. And so it's just a different, yeah, different dynamic and different energy for sure.
I think the beauty of that approach is that both sides get to relax and just be real.
Yeah,
And I know from a selling place, a marketing place, that is so much more fun
right. Yeah,
than, the old way of waiting, give them a few minutes to talk and then wanting to jump in and fix it for them, that sort of
right.
thing. So again, I just love your brilliance, Sarah. Everything that you say resonates with me.
Thank you.
Um, I love when you talk about energy. You say we're serving the people we're energized to serve. And when I read that, I thought that's a huge permission slip. It's like, so what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who feel like they should market to everyone or everyone is my ideal client, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that comes from a fear place, I understand sometimes of being
Yeah.
afraid to be down.
What I tell beginning entrepreneurs is actually, okay, give yourself permission for a year to
Hmm.
to actually, go with that, because it creates almost more fear for them to say, oh, I have to have my niche right now, but I
They have
can't
no
figure it
way of knowing
out.
what it is yet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, sometimes that comes through experience and through working with the people that you don't want to serve.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of a journey that you need to first experience. So I would definitely give you the permission slip to say, okay, just, go with that for for a while. But then yes, 1 year in or 2 years in, it's still really good to then kind of start to understand, well, who are these people? What are the challenges they have? Do I want to, solve all their challenges? Probably not. Maybe you have just one specific thing that you want to help them with. And again, making your worldview your niche. So not necessarily wanting to say, oh, I only work with 50-year-old women who have this specific problem, but kind of making them self-select because you're bringing also in what you stand for, your worldview, etc. But it's something to me that is a bit more flexible than some of the other marketers who are so stern about this niche. From what I've seen over the last 20 years is that people get so nervous about this idea of the niche,
Hmm.
and it doesn't really help them to be, boxed in. It just creates more fear. So I say, experiment a bit, and then yes, slowly kind of fine tune the offering and who you serve.
I like that advice a lot because it does create fear. And again, how can you market to the correct people if you don't know who they are yet? You know,
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
thinking about starting my business. I was initially called, my organization was called On Purpose Networking for Women. It was going to be a networking group for women, but I didn't know what kind of women. I didn't know who would show up. I did no market research. I just had those parties at my house that you can all read about on my website. And I just knew that there was a need for it and there was a desire for it. So if I had tried to create a target audience, for one, that can become a huge project on its own and a great reason not to work, not to do anything
You're
else yet,
right. Yeah.
or a great way not to launch. I just put it out there and to see and who showed up. And over a period of about a year, it was very clear that who's showing up are women entrepreneurs who are not finding a place in other types of organizations, not feeling
Right.
like they fit. And I would have never come up with that on my own because I didn't know it was a thing. I was a new entrepreneur, so here I am serving entrepreneurs, and I've never been one.
Right.
Which I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of women have been in that situation. So that so resonates with me. And I didn't even think about that until you talked about it, that that's how I got started. But there was all this, people were saying, well, who is this for? I don't know, women.
Yeah.
It can't just be for women. Well, that's what it is right now. And
Yeah.
so I think we do get a lot of advice that says not everyone is your client. But
Yeah.
again, we don't know that until we
No, you
try it.
don't know until you find out. And yeah, what you just said, I think women who don't fit anywhere else, like that is a
Mhm.
big aha right there, right? It really that's what I mean about putting in the worldview. It's like meaning that you felt like you never fit in any of the other organizations. And so now you're saying, hey, this is for the women who don't fit in other places. Well, that creates belonging. It creates,
Mhm.
this sense of common purpose. And
Yeah.
and yeah, that's exactly what I mean by telling then also the stories of how you didn't fit in and how this sort of gatherings are for other people. And
Mhm.
yeah, it just creates this resonance with you because we feel the same.
And 25 years ago, it was a much more like divided group of people because there were people who were doing it this way and there were people who were doing it this way. Now that's the lines are blurred now. And there's a lot
Mm,
more women and a lot more organizations have started that come from more of this heart place
yeah,
that are buying into the idea of humane marketing. So, then it becomes, okay, how do I find those new people now with all the
right.
noise that's out there? And that becomes a whole different thing, which maybe we'll talk about another time. But or do
Yeah,
you have
it's
anything to
always
say about that?
questioning ourselves, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not just a done
exactly.
deal. Yeah,
No, it'd be nice if it was, but that would get boring as well, I
yeah, I
think.
would give it
Yeah, it'd
boring.
be easier, but I don't,
Mm,
easy
right.
isn't always great.
No.
Okay, I want to ask you about the cost of maybe not doing it this way. So if we ignore this more humane approach to people and marketing, what happens, do you think, if we stay in that old mindset of doing it? Especially, and I'm saying there are people in that mindset now who feel like it's working for them and they're not looking for anything new. But what would you say to someone who's feeling like, I'm doing it this way, but it's not working and I don't know what's going on? And, if they keep doing that, they're probably not going to be as successful as they want to be. So,
Mm,
what happens if we stay in any old mindset too long? Actually, it could be any old idea. And I see
yeah,
what you're talking about. That's an old idea.
right.
It's so 2000, right?
It is, yeah. Well, it is, but yet a lot of the marketing out there is still like
Oh
that.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so what happens if you don't uh, look at who you are and bring that into marketing, start from that place? Well, it can actually cost you your health. I see
Mm,
that with quite a few of my clients, people who go through the marketing like we're human program. They're like, it cost me my health because they are so much out of integrity and feeling like constantly pushing, right? It's this constant anxiety and angst of wanting to do it right and then failing, buying the next marketing program that tells them how to do a certain thing, usually a tactic, and then they're failing again. So it's always, yeah, they're always quick fixes and they might even work for a few weeks. But then usually you find yourself at the same starting point because that kind of manipulative marketing, it works for short term and getting, quick money
mhm.
into the bank account, but it doesn't create trust
Yeah.
because the minute people buy, they're buying from a place of fear because you've pushed them and manipulated them. And so you will never get these happy clients that, continue referring you, etc. And so, yeah, the way this manifests in people is that they get sick or they just feel like failures because they never succeed what other marketers are telling them out there. I got people saying that they feel like failures because the marketing messages out there are all about going big or going home. So when they have small group programs or just working in a small business, they constantly feel like, well, how come everybody else is having this giant scaled business? It's not true. That's you only see the messages from these big marketing gurus who are using the scarcity mindset to, yeah, push people to buy. But in the end, um, everybody else who's buying their product is probably just as is not successful either. So yeah, it creates this constant vicious cycle of anxiety and angst and feeling like a failure, and it just doesn't allow you to be yourself, which is so sad. Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is if we continue to do things that aren't working, and if we could apply this to anything in our life, if we can continue to do things that we don't think are working and just trying a different tactic, paying for a new program, getting a new certification, and we're still not in the flow, it's probably because we haven't discovered who we really are yet.
Mm.
That's the basis of it
Mm.
all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we haven't looked for who we are yet, because
Yes.
it's
Yeah, that
it's
has to come
it's
first.
actually, yeah, it's actually about creating the spaciousness to
Hmm.
do that foundational work and
Yeah.
find that clarity. But just like everybody else, I was focused 10 years on the latest tactic, because our
Hmm.
brain thinks we just got to do more, we got to do another thing because this thing didn't work, and then we got to, if that thing didn't work, we got to find another tactic. And so our brain keeps telling us, well, just got to do things differently and more, instead of pausing and doing that inner work so that we can find out, well, who am I really, and how am I going to bring this into my business so that I feel so much joy, and yeah, I feel so relaxed in my business. But
Yeah.
that takes courage to just, say, okay, yes, I want to do it this way. No more tactics, or only the tactics that work for me. But
Right.
this means I gotta first find out who I am, so I can find those.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it can be scary. It can be work, and it's so rewarding on the other side of it once you get at least an idea to start working with. You don't have to
Yeah,
do it all at one time. You don't have to come up with this massive because it will shift over time. I don't think we can ever come up with, at least I haven't been able to come up yet with or haven't even wanted to try the full idea of who I really am. I know that I'm expressing it and I'm learning something new and then I express it again. So it's a work in progress
it
from my
is.
perspective. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, can you give us a little sneak peek into what's coming next in the fourth P, which will be in the
Yeah.
main issue?
Yeah, the fourth P is about the P of product. So product is from the actually from the original P. So I kept that one. Usually my clients or heart-centered entrepreneurs are more into a service business, but that didn't start with a P, so I kept product. But what
Mhm.
we're working on there is really creating an irresistible offering that encapsulates so much value that our resonant ideal clients just want to buy it. And so it's a huge focus on value, because that's not what we're seeing out there either. What we're seeing in the marketing guru world is like, okay, fine, you have your target audience, now just sell them whatever. It's like all that matters is the sale, right? So
Mhm.
here we're talking about the value, and we're talking about tangible value and intangible value. So meaning, yes, people are looking to check off tangible value, meaning something that they can apply immediately. But intangible value is just as important for our conscious clients, because they understand that not you can't touch everything. There's certain things that are internal that are just as valuable. So that's what we're trying to create, a product that is real, that is authentic, that comes from a place of, I really want to serve you and not just, sell you my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for someone who's just discovering humane marketing, what's the best way for them to catch up and kind of dive deeper into this way of marketing? Where can you send them?
hmm yeah, so I have a one pager for the 7 Ps of humane marketing. You can go to humane marketing /one page and the number one and the word page. And then that comes with these email prompts to help you reflect on the different Ps for your business. And there's no prescription of this is what it is for you. It's a self-reflection because I call my people deep thinkers. So I want you to think about and really, yeah, take your critical thinking glasses and go, well, what is it for me? Who am I? Who are my people? So yeah, that's what this one pager is all about.
Okay. And the link for that is in the text of this video. And also, you have a book. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, I have 2 books and a third one coming out this summer. So the one that talks about the 7 Ps of marketing, humane marketing, is called Marketing Like We're Human. And it just kind of goes through these 7 Ps, but also I've divided it into 3 parts, which are called Rumble, Rise, and Resonate. So it uses the visual of a labyrinth where we walk into this labyrinth and rumble with ourselves, who we are, this whole journey. And then in the middle, we rise because we have finally figured out who we are, and we rise to the surface so that we can stand out from all the others because we are now uniquely ourselves. And then we return back with this knowledge and walk back into the world from the labyrinth middle, and we resonate with our people. So that's the 3 parts of the Marketing Like We're Human book.
Wow. I don't know if you saw this or not, but in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group, on the day that your article shared a couple of times in that group that someone I'll just say her name, Vicky Eyeball, who's a member of the On Purpose Woman Global Community, said, I got Sarah's book, I love it, and I'm recommending her to my clients. And she's a
Oh,
business coach. And so I just
oh,
wanted to
thank
shout
you.
that out to you and
Yeah.
let you know that
Oh,
that it's
thank
getting
you
out
so
there. It's
much,
getting out
Vicky.
there even more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You see, Facebook is one of those things that I'm like, okay, this is not one of my priorities anymore. And so
Yeah.
that means accepting that I didn't see that message, but
Yeah,
thank you
that's
so
okay.
much.
But that's why I didn't think you did. And I remember you
Yeah,
telling me that.
yeah.
And yeah, because we can't be on everywhere. We just can't.
No,
So I
yeah,
think when
too
I
right.
tried that in the early days, because everyone was saying you've got to do this, 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 and this, I didn't give 100%. I didn't even give 50% to any of it. It was just
Yeah,
scattered, not
no,
consistent. And
yeah,
I
too
certainly agree with
much.
that. Find your home and be there and be present
Exactly.
and keep giving to your home.
Right.
So, as we wrap up, what's one thing you hope readers will take to heart from this third installment on people?
Mm. Yeah, it's about bringing more of yourself to your marketing so that your people can resonate with you. And just given the times we're in, I really feel like what I always say at the end of every podcast episode, I always say we're more than marketers. Go be the change you want to see in the world.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
marketing can be part of this change, and so really it's about changing our perspective about marketing. Marketing is just communication with our tribe, with our community. And yeah, part of that is bringing more of you. Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for this thoughtful and inspiring conversation. And you've given me again, so much to think about when it comes to how we view and connect with the people that we serve. I really appreciate you.
You, Jenny. I appreciate you.
And to our listeners and readers, if you haven't yet, be sure to check out Sarah's full article in the latest issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. That link is in the text of this video. And if you're just joining the series, you can catch up on the first 2 by going to my website, which is in the text of this video, and clicking on our archives. So Sarah started this series November, December. There's also January, February, and today we're talking about the March, April issue. We can't wait to see what's coming up next in the install. If you can't wait to see what's coming up next in the installment, the next installment for Humane Marketing, that magazine will be out on Facebook and in your inbox and on Instagram and on LinkedIn on May 1st. If you don't have any of those, you're not connected with any of those, please send me a short email or go to my website is the best way. Actually, sign up for our email list. That website is opwgc.com. And again, that is in the text of this video. Thanks again for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show.